Hey everyone, welcome to our third episode of Power Street Spotlight. And today we have the lovely Steve Wei. Woo! I can't really do like the whole crowd, but I feel like if there was an audience, there would be a roar. So welcome, Steve. I would love to rave more about you, but I want you to introduce yourself. What are your pronouns and who are you?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Hi, I'm Steve. He, him. I'm a Philly-based actor, actor combatant, and fight choreographer. That's my, I guess, sort of sphere for the most part these days. But yeah, thrilled to be hanging out with you today.
Awesome, love it. So one thing I like to do is an icebreaker before we get into the nitty-gritty of the interview. Now, normally I like to do it a question, but I was thinking, let's play a game. So would you like to play rock, paper, scissors with me?
Sure. Yeah.
We'll do best 2 out of 3, and the winner wins nothing. And yeah, just to try it. Okay, all right, ready? Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Shoot. Oh, damn it.
I'm not competitive. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Oh my goodness.
I promise I did not cheat. So I'm curious about what is your origin story with theater? How did you get introduced to the art with acting, to combat? And I know you did some directing as well. So how did you get into all that?
Well, I mean, it's sort of a long, winding story, so I'll try and keep it really brief. But I started out as a choir boy, not like religious affiliated, but I was in choir for a very long time. And in high school, my partner at the time, insisted that I try out for the school play. And I didn't think I would like it very much. It ended up being a pretty small role. But a thing I missed pretty early on in the process was that my part ended out the whole play, this 2.5 hour epic, by with this big kissing, making out scene, like not like just a smooch. It was pretty intense, and it was sort of like the final set piece of the show. So I got like that sort of performer bucket list item out of the way very quickly.
Right. Yeah.
And I had the bug from there. I thought I was going to do musical theater for a long time, as you might imagine, but I sort of veered off from that because those circles were kind of like not emotionally satisfying for me. Those communities. I veered off once I found stage combat in college. I went to Temple. I studied with Ian Rose. He's still a very close friend of mine and my mentor. So I work with him in town, and yeah, I've been performing for like 8 years doing stage combat at this point, and I've been doing fight choreo and a little bit of teaching as well. Pretty much almost fresh out of college, actually, now that I'm thinking of it.
Nice.
But yeah, that's I guess sort of how I got here.
But one thing I noticed or I learned is that you're also while you were at Temple part of APO, and I was like, oh my god, so was I. So you're another brother, or so it's like, oh, we're related, but not clearly really. But like I was just like, oh hey friend. Also, fun fact about like Power Street, majority of us are also Temple alums too. So it's like, oh hey, just you got to come on. But also, I mean, it's okay if Temple Theaters watches this, but like the reason why Power Street was created was because a lot of us weren't able to, be part of the roles on what they, put on main stage and stuff. So it's like, well, we're gonna create our own. So here we are.
Yeah.
Love it. Right, so before we show your piece, if you don't mind just introducing the dance and railroad monologue that you have for us.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a piece by David Henry Hwang. It's called The Dance on the Railroad. It was written in the early 80s about a couple of Asian Americans working on the Transcontinental Railroad. So that's way back, but and I can't even delve into the, you know, the historical importance of that in a short period of time. But it was a period where you know, Asian American labor was exploited horrifically in our country, and this takes place during a strike that the workers were a part of. um, and I don't want to spoil the play for anyone, but you don't get, but luckily you don't get to, you don't have to see any of that. It's more about what they decide to do with their time off, I guess you might call it, if you're being really, really generous. And there are maybe more unfortunately some kind of parallels between like the power structures that are oppressing you know, this character Ma, and his you know, fellow workers, and the ones that kind of exist in other structures in our lives, like between us and our fellow coworkers, our peers, and between us and our families, and how abuse and oppression can show up in many of those
Yeah.
relationships.
Mhm.
So
Yes, thank you for that. Yeah, because that even just reading or doing my research about it definitely is complex in many ways. And I really want to see it. I was like, any next time I have the opportunity, I'm just like, I'm so fascinated by it, and yeah. Um, so everyone enjoy the lovely piece.
This is a content warning. The following piece includes family trauma and death, and describes graphic violence, including dismemberment of insects. Thank you. Locusts travel in huge swarms, so large that when they cross the sky, they block out the sun, like a storm. Second uncle, back home, when he was a young man, his whole crop got wiped out by locusts one year. In the famine that followed, second uncle lost his eldest son and his second wife, the one he married for love. Even to this day, we still look around before saying the word locusts to make sure second uncle's out of hearing range. About 8 years ago, my brother and I discovered second uncle's cave in back of a stream near our house. We saw him come out of it one day around noon. Later, just before the sun went down, we sneaked in. We only looked once. Inside, there must have been hundreds, maybe 500 or more. Grasshoppers in huge bamboo cages. And around them, stacks of grasshopper legs, grasshopper heads, grasshopper antennae. Grasshoppers with one leg, still trying to hop, but toppling like trees coughing. Grasshoppers wrapped around, sharp branches rolling from side to side. Grasshoppers' legs cut off grasshopper bodies, then tied to grasshoppers and tightened till grasshoppers died. Every conceivable kind of grasshopper, in every conceivable stage of life and death, subject to every conceivable grasshopper torture. We ran out quickly, my brother and I. We knew an evil place by the thickness of the air. And now, I think of second uncle. How sad it was that the locusts forced him to take his agony out on innocent grasshoppers. What if second uncle could see me now? Would he cut off my legs? Ugh. He might as well. I can barely feel them. But then again, second uncle never tortured actual locusts. Just weak grasshoppers.
So one thing I was really interested specifically with you, because I know you are a director, and also thinking of this play and how the story of like how immigrants come to America, whether it be by force or just by hope and like promise of, you know, a better life for them and their families. Immigrants are still get the shorter end of the stick of what America has to offer. Um, and I was just thinking of, if you were to direct this play today, what would you do? Considering that it's based from, the strike that was like right, as you said, in the mid 1800s, and the play was written in the 80s. So, and the story still continues today. So I'm just interested and want to pick your director brain on that.
Oh man, this would be such a really, really cool piece to produce and direct. So there's only two characters in it, first of all. They slip in and out of their English and their Chinese. And the way that you know that they're speaking English is that they put on the affect of the accent, the very stereotypical Chinese accent.
Mm.
And it's almost invariably used to sort of mock English speaking people, which is really it's actually really, really fun, and it kind of tickles you because it comes out of talking about some like really serious
Yeah.
suffering on the part of these characters. So that would be like one really interesting and fun aspect to just sort of like hone in on is these the relationship between workers and their bosses, or
Mhm.
whatever you would like to call them, and how abusive and oppressive that can be, and the immigrant experience, and how especially in our country that's like incredibly abusive,
Mhm.
and the places where sort of the light kind of bleeds through the cracks, where there's so much harm and so much suffering, but you still get kind of the fun and lighthearted moments in people's lives. I think you get a couple of moments of that in the monologue here.
Mhm.
But it's throughout the entire piece. There's Chinese opera and dancing. There's a little, there's a little mock stage combat fight in it, which ends up not being so lighthearted and fun, but it just kind of goes in and out. It's this beautiful little sort of soothing, it's almost like a parable. It's set on top of a mountain in the middle of nowhere. If you know anything about the Transcontinental Railroad, it's
Right.
mostly goes through nowhere.
Mhm.
So it's just this. I would be really, really interested in finding the moments of comfort and joy in
Mm.
stories of deep, painful moments in the immigrant, story.
Yeah. I hope you get the chance to like really direct it, because now I'm like so excited. And yeah, even from like the clips that I've seen of just like the movement, and I love it. I'm like, I love dance, so I'm just like, oh, I'm fascinated, whether it be through like fighting, the dancing and singing and the language and back and forth from English to Chinese. Like, oh my gosh, you guys, whoever is watching this, if you can make this happen, please make this happen and have Steve be the director. Thank you kindly.
Oh, you're so kind.
Thank you so much for doing this interview. I greatly appreciate it, and I really, really hope. Well, yes, there must be a way that Power Street can work with you in the future when it's safe too. I really hope so.
I hope so too. That'd be amazing.
Well, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. And everyone who's watching, thank you for watching. Oh, and also, before we end things, how can people, keep up with the work that you're doing? If you have a website or social media, or if you don't want to share, what's some good news just to share?
Well, you can mainly find me on Facebook. I post a lot about social justice, so just prepare yourself for that. It's not all happy stories like I would like to share from time to time, but I do post about all the things that I'm working on. It's not a lot lately, as you might imagine, but it always ends up there if I'm doing it. So there's that, and yeah, I mean, I'm a regular haunt over at Inishnuwa Theater, so you'll probably see me waving, or you'll get me on the phone if you call them up. And yeah.
Bye, everyone.